Okay, hi dear friends, this is Wasimesa. I hope you are doing well. So for those who are new here in my channel, I am a publisher and I'm passionate about tarot and oracles. I have published a few books about that and about spirituality if you want to check my publishing house on the link below. I'm also a teacher and I hold initiations at the Temple of Roses to introduce people to the medicine of roses and other plants. You can check that also below. For today, I'm coming to talk about shamanic oracles and decks and tarot decks in general. And I want to share with you these what you can do with shamanic oracles and tarot decks and how can you combine these two practices together. So just a quick note that shamanism actually has been used for probably 100,000 years in Siberia. This is where the word shamanism comes from. And it has been used by the anthropologists to describe this practice that is mainly about connecting to the spirit allies, to heal people, to travel between different worlds, to practice rituals and organize circles for specific work or specific events. So the word shamanism brings an issue in when we talk about it because most people talk about animism and they compare between these two. Well, animism is different. Animism is to believe that everything is has a spirit, is inhabited by spirit. I believe that these decks have spirits. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that we will connect to these spirits and we will travel through the words and we will do the work that medicine men and women or shamans do. So this is really important that we talk about. So how can we use the shamanic decks? So I cut these categories into four. So we will talk about them and I will show you some examples. The first category is a physical and mind work. What does it mean? It means that sometimes you can use specific tarot decks and oracles to be introduced to some deities in profound way, and you can use this, through the imagery. You can use through this through the symbolism, and the you can use the guidebook to also know more about these different deities that you might not know. Then we have to know that the world is inhabited by different beings that sometimes we see and sometimes we don't see. Some we know and some we don't know. And it's really interesting to see, to learn about them, to learn about the multiplicity that exists in our world in order to have a bigger view, and maybe if you are also interested in psychology work, maybe learn more about the archetypes of these beings and how we are linked to them. Another deck that I will show, this is Mage Cards. I really love this deck. um, Become an Oracle is one of our clients for sure prefer the I don't care and the Become an Oracle. They are both the most sold in our shop, but I tend to introduce people also to the Mage Cards because it's really unique. It has different beings that I don't know. And it's fascinating because it's like you are in a museum and you are learning about these spirits. Become an Oracle also is another deck where you can find different beings to learn about them, like the planets, the Egyptian deities, the angels, the archangels. So in this case, sorry for the noise behind. In this case, we are really having a work from a mind and physical perspective. Put in, for example, this card in your altar and trying to learn more about this being and also how to work with him or with her or with it through the symbolism it has, and also expand your knowledge about this topic and these spirits. Another way you can use the cards is, let me just put this here I have so many cards. It's just crazy. Um, oh, before I move on, talking about learning, the physical mind perspective. I got this deck from a Korean shop, and I had some copies in my, but they went really quickly. It's also linked to the shamanism, the Korean shamanism, and it's a way to learn about the spirits. And you see that I didn't mix them because it's really beautiful. I don't know all these spirits, so I'm trying to more understand, and I should put it out sometime. But it's these decks act as an introduction to this practice. There is also the Vision Quest tarot that is based on the thought system, but also acts as for those who are into shamanism. It might act as a doorway because the guidebook is amazing. It's small but it's really good. A doorway to shamanism from the First Nation perspective, I say, about the Americas. So they play a really good work to introduce us to certain traditions. So yeah, just so I don't forget this. All right. The second way that you can use, the way you can use these cards is using the imagery as a portal to travel. We know that in shamanic work is based on traveling between the worlds, and you can use these cards as a doorway, as an entrance to different realm. It's really interesting because I am using at the moment the multidimensional divas. It's really, really good by Sila Conway. I did some interviews with her on my channel. You can find them in the list of videos. But these are divas. So for sure, we will learn more about them through the guidebook also. But they act also as a doorway, as you try to focus on the picture and let yourself be introduced into a different state of consciousness. And from there, you can meet with your helpers, with some spirits, and maybe you can use them instead of using the drum, which is one of the ways we travel and the tools we use in shamanic journeys. You can use the cards to enter into that liminal space where you can receive guidance and receive other images. I love this type of practice, especially with clients, because from the mind we change and we shift into that space where everything is possible and where we can find some answers that we did not expect at all. Another deck that you can use, and let me just show you some of these cards because they are lovely. And one thing that I'm very, very interested in is the cartography of the spiritual realm, because like in this planet, you have some cities, you have towns, you have spaces like parks and spaces where you find lakes, where you find different races. It's the same thing in the spirit world. You have different landscapes, different levels, different skies, different beings, and it's really important to know these different beings, so that when you travel, you are not lost. You know where you are going, and you know who you are meeting and what you are doing in that realm. So this is really, really interesting practice in that sense. Another deck that helps with that is the tiled deck, for example. Another deck that I really love. So just let me. Wait. Really, really beautiful deck. And the creator passed away a few months ago, I think. So again, this deck acts in the same way. It can play the role of communicating with some memories, communicating with those who passed away. It acts also as the, for people who are aware of soul retrieval and, some parts of us that left when we have lived a shock or a trauma. This deck really plays very well when, like you are looking for what you are looking for, that piece that left. You want to retrieve a memory or retrieve that part of you and understand why she left at the beginning. So really, really nice to do this type of work. All right, so the other deck, put this here. Okay. All right. Other decks that you can use. Let me just check which. I have so many decks. Okay. Oh, I love this one too. Okay. So we were talking about cards as being portals and being doorways into the imaginary world and to the underworld, underworld, or the upper world, which are the three worlds. So we live in the ordinary world and we go into the non-ordinary world from the teachings of Michael Harner. So the third possibility, I'm putting it here, the third possibility is to use the cards in divination. So let's talk a bit about this, because in shamanism, divination is an important aspect of the practice. The medicine man or woman or the sorcerer, of course, shamans have different names according to the country or the tradition and the tribes they belong to, but the divination aspect is present from the history and from the practice that are still alive. We use stones, we use the hands, we use the sound, we use bones, we use water, and so on. There are many tools. But in our modern life, paper has permitted us to have cards that are illustrated, and that can be used in divination. I give you an example of soul loss, and it might be really interesting to have that type of practice from shamanic perspective about, let's say, soul loss, recovery, the causes of some diseases, what I have something lost, how can I find it? There are different questions that shamans have to address, and I feel like this deck, I think it's called Journey to the Soul Home by Caroline. It's in our shop. It's a beautiful shamanic deck because it talks about the soul journey on earth and how to gather our fragments. So it speaks very well about that. And for divination, it's really interesting to use it from, you have to enter that space where you communicate with your spirits. And I feel this deck is really, really connected to the ancestors' side and to the ancient guides. So some of us have, guides from certain traditions, and this is very well for these type of communications. Before I go to this one, another one is really nice too. Carmen, of course, I cannot not talk about shamanic decks without talking about Carmen Sorrenty's deck, which is the Full Arcus, which is typically based on dreams and what is shamanism but traveling into other realms like we do in every night, dreaming. So this deck also can be used very, very well about divination, to see a situation from different perspective, maybe try to understand some dreams, try to widen your understanding about the shamanic journey you did. Symbolism is a key in this deck. I have done a video about some symbols and the animals that this deck holds, so you can check it out. But yes, I have asked a question to shamanic practitioners, and I think I had like 300% participating. And I can say that 25% to 30%, which is a big percentage, receive guidance through imagery. This is very important. because it means that all these shamanic practitioners receive symbols, receive colors, receive scenes, and it's important to understand them to transmit the message. So we have to learn symbology in shamanism. We have to give our spirits the language that they can speak to us in a clear way and in a quick way, because when you have someone and you have an hour for session, as a session, or 2 hours maximum, you have to be specific. You have to be clear on the messages you transmit. You cannot say, I see as in the sky this cloud and it's strong. Yes, it's really nice to use metaphors, but people in our modern lives, in my opinion, need specific guidance, quick guidance, efficiency. We have to be efficient in the guidance we give. So learning symbolism is really a key in our shamanic practice. All right. Energy work, let's talk about this. It's one of my favorite. And of course, I have so many other decks to show you, but let's see how can we do this. Okay. All right, I have this one. Okay, for energy work, I have brought a lot of decks, but I want to show you just few so that you understand the logic in it. All right. So the fourth way you can use the cards, for shamanic practice is energy work. So let's wrap up so we know where we are. The first way to use oracles and tarot decks in shamanic practice is to use them as a physical for the mind, to nourish the mind, to learn information, right? This is the first. The second, use them as a portal to the underworld or the upper world, to the non-ordinary world. The third aspect is to use them for divination, looking for information about situation, soul loss, etc. And the fourth aspect, which is one of my favorites, I must say, is energy work. In energy work, there are 3 aspects I will talk about. The first one is to invite some energies to your work, all right? So, and in the past, I'll get back to this one. Just give me some time. In the past, the medicine man and woman used to use the stones, figurines, what is available to them, so that they build on their ceremony, their rituals, and we can use the same. We can use the cards instead of stones and figurines, and we don't have access to the feathers. We don't have access that much to nature, but nature is here. This paper is coming from nature. These colors come from nature. We are nature. So let's use what is available to us. And this deck, I really enjoy it because it's called Mystical Shaman Oracle, because it shows some cards that you can use. For example, the spirit animals, you invite them to your circle. The medicine wheel, and in the medicine wheel you have the north, the east, the south, and the west, and you will find these cards here. You can put for each direction a card, and then you can put the element, water or air, you can put the animal, spirit, and so on. So you can use these cards. I talk mostly to people who are into shamanic practice, of course, because I'm not introducing you to what is a shamanic circle. That's why I am moving faster. But if you don't know what it is, please let me know, and I will put maybe a video especially for that. I love this deck. So this inviting your spirit allies and inviting some energies into your circle through cards is one way to do it in energy work and shamanic work. Another deck that I use in this way is my own, which is Shamanic Healing with Roses and Flowers. And this is the last copy I am using because I think it's out of stock. But it's the same thing. I use the, and again, energy. I have the chakras in this card. So I can, in a shamanic practice, invite the energy of the rose to heal some chakras. I can invite the energy of the roses in my healing sessions, in my ceremonies, and I know them by heart. Some of them I know them by heart because I work all the time with them, but others I don't remember. So when they come, if I don't have a card for a long time in shamanic practice or in a session, I would ask myself, why is this flower coming here and now? What am I having to do with her at the moment? And I journey and I see, okay, why did you come? And for this specific situation. For example, I was talking to one of my friends today about the iris, and I shared with her some messages from the guidebook, and she was like, "Oh, it doesn't speak to me." But sometimes we have to go beyond the guidebook. We have to travel and communicate directly with the flowers to see why they are coming at this specific time in our shamanic practice. So it's not only about drawing an energy, it's to establish a communication for energy work. Another deck that I really enjoy using for this type of things is the Energy Medicine Oracle. And I don't know where is the guidebook, to be honest. I must have put it somewhere. But I love it because it has the stones, it has a word, it has different words, and it's beautiful. The illustrations, it's profound. It speaks to my heart, and I feel it has that shamanic connection, and it adds to my shamanic practice to use it. I should put it out now because I really find this deck interesting to work with in winter, maybe because of the colors of blues and feeling like getting into the the darkness like a bear. Another deck also, not only because it's called Mama Shamana, of course, you know that I love the work of Mama Shamana. Her decks are in my shop because I support this artist and I love her work. I love also all they do. They have several decks. West of the Moon is among them. And this one also is really interesting. More for divination than energy work, I must admit. But at the same time, it's really interesting to use it in energy as a structure for what is hidden. Because it's not logical. When you go into the spirit realm, there is no logic. You can see animals that don't fly. You can see beings that you have never seen in this earth or in the ordinary world. You will see things that are out of the box, and sometimes it's interesting to open yourself to that dimension in order to understand that everything is possible, and that in the spirit world, everything is energy. Everything is energy. Everything might not have a form, but it exists. Energy exists. Like the air we breathe, we don't see it, and it exists. So it's really interesting to use this one as like an infrared, like you don't see it, the underground structure. One last deck that I will show because I didn't show you, like briefly. Let me at least share briefly the Dragon Oracle deck. Very, very nice in energy work, placing them for your ceremony work in some shamanic wheel. This one also very, very nice. I really enjoy using it. I used it a lot for divination, but for energy work, ceremonies, rituals, very, very interesting to use. And I will finish with these two because they are my favorites too. So the Petrarch Tarot, I think it's out of stock in my shop, but I love the energy it has. Energy, very profound. It reminds me the Umrazai Oracle deck, and I forgot. I think I have another one in these type of colors, and it's the structure. It's really lovely from a shamanic perspective to call in some elements that are represented by colors. Like the water, the fire, the air, in this way. Of course, I won't forget the wisdom of the witch. I think it's called Wisdom of the Witch. Oh my, this deck is totally shamanic. You can use it to invite some energies to your work. You can, maybe do some operations, like healing operations with this deck. But it works as well, very well, it's just beautiful. It works very well also as a doorway. It's kind of, when I talk about doorways, people talk about meditation, but it's just meditation. I feel is very reductionist word for shamanic journeying because it is different. But meditation, there are like 109 type of meditation that I know. So yeah, let's say meditative journeys or shamanic meditative journeys. That will maybe put this in a more specific way. But it's this one carries also, I mean, if you use the guidebook, it's worth it because it's very well done. It has many principles. The work has been done in shamanic way. So it's, I love it. I love it for energy work and for imagery and journeying. Another deck that I didn't bring, but I talked about briefly in one of the last videos, is the Arthurian deck, which is very, very shamanic also, and it offers journeys. So it helps you to get that sense of shamanism and working with spirit allies. And you can use the drum also if you want to enhance your capacity of traveling and journeying. I would add just two last ones because I love the Fantastic Creatures deck by Lisa Hunt, because again, you will find a lot of mythical beings, mythical animals in here that you might encounter also in your shamanic journeys. So you might want to invite them or to communicate with them through this deck. Excuse me. And another one, I always say, okay, this is the end, and then I'm finally like, oh, I didn't talk about this one and this one and this one. And of course, I won't forget the Ma'at tarot deck, which is just amazing. And I have been using it in my training with Zara as a guardian of Ma'at, and it has been very, very pertinent. And I practice Egyptian shamanism, which is journeying and connecting with the Egyptian deities that I work with. And I didn't use this one for, let's say, for my teachings and my connections with Hathor or Isis, but when I used it with Ma'at, it was very, very accurate. And I didn't use it for energy work, but I just wanted to bring it that depending your practice in shamanic practice is wide, but depending your practice, you might find yourself getting more familiar and attracted to those that you encounter in your shamanic journeys. I work with Egyptian mysteries, Egyptian shamanism. By the way, this is not a word that I have created. It has been brought by Nikki Scully, one of my teachers too, and Normandie Ellis, also one of my teachers. And I am honored. I feel honored that I have learned with them, and I have came to, connect to the Egyptian mysteries through this way. So I find myself really drawn to all this, and of course I have added them to my oracle, become an oracle, so that they are all present. And by the way, all these beings I encounter in my shamanic journeys. If you want to know more about them, you can get the deck. All right, I'll stop here. Already 30 minutes. But I hope you know now how to use the decks in a shamanic way. Of course, if you have questions, please leave them in the comments below. And also, I invite you, if you want to get to know more about your decks, to explore these two books. I'm having really good comments about them, and maybe you would want to establish like more like a practice, regular practice for the next year. You might want to check them out. All right, so I wish you a very, very nice day and hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.